So thank you, everyone, for joining us. Wow, this is a big panel.
Yes, it is.
I haven't even met you, Leilani. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Thanks for joining us.
Of course.
So this is all about, we talked about authenticity, credibility. Everyone here has like their unique own ideas and letting their own personalities come out. And I think that's really important in trust. How do you build trust with your audience? How do you stay, authentic to yourself when people are chasing algorithms, chasing money, all that sort of stuff? Nara, tell me about first.
You want me to take it away?
You're the closest. You're in the hot seat right now.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, what would you say your brand is, and how do you kind of express yourself to the audience?
I think it's all about staying as true to yourself as you can and doing what you love. I love cooking. I love being in the kitchen. I love doing what I do on a daily basis, and I think to me I wasn't doing anything I wasn't doing in my day-to-day life. I was cooking for my husband, I was cooking for my children, and I was making them what they were craving. So I just decided to post it and wear a cool outfit, and that either pissed people off or they loved it, and I just keep doing it.
That's good. You don't care about the haters, and you just keep on going forward.
Weirdly enough, I don't. I feel like when it got really intense, of course, you read the comments and you kind of feel weird about it, and you start questioning yourself, but then they're paying my bills.
That is good. They're buying the beautiful clothes, so that is cool. Yeah. Jake, how about you? You look like you're definitely a rugged individual.
Yeah, I think, I think when it comes to authenticity, especially in social media, there's many different things you can think about. For me personally, I've learned over the years, when I first began making videos, I probably wasn't as authentic as I wanted to be. But as time's gone on, I've realized that that's actually what people want. In a world that's evolving so quickly, authenticity is really shining through right now.
Yeah. And how would you describe your brand today? When people tune in for your personality, what is the Jake Sweet personality?
My brand is, I think, very almost childish. It stands out a lot. And very bright and vibrant.
No, very cool. Bree, you're a life vlogger, kind of, podcast host. How do you let when you decided to be on the show with Josh, were you worried about I need to be this the version of me on the podcast, or did you just let your personality fly and that took off? And tell me about that kind of evolution, if there was.
Yeah, for sure. When I first started on social media, I was really young, so I was really scared of the perception of myself online. And as I got older, I kind of take an approach that I don't think many creators want to. I'm honest about the good, the bad, and the ugly. Yep. So I share hardship, I share mistakes that I've made, and I've gained just a following that feels like they're kind of reading their own diary. And it's some things that I don't want to share, but at the end of the day, I think I've created a fan base for life where they feel like I'm their older sister or their younger sister, and they're looking out for me and they're sharing advice. And I think sharing things that people steer away from helped me a lot and have grown my fan base a lot. And it's a lot different with podcasting because a lot of people here, I feel, just have short form content, which sometimes I wish I only had short form content because my whole life is out there. It's 2 hours a week. But it's really important, I think, for podcasters to kind of be open and honest about everything, and it builds just a connection like any other.
Is that scary at first to kind of really open yourself up?
Yeah, it's scary every day.
Yeah.
Well, it's weird being out on the street and people coming up to you and basically essentially reading your diary. They know everything about you. They know who you're dating, who your exes are, who your best friends are. It's intimidating. Sometimes you wish you hadn't done it, but at the end of the day, it's a job, and nothing about anyone's job is perfect, and we don't all love our jobs.
Very cool. Erica, you're a recovering corporate lawyer. Tell me about how you found your voice, your brand, because again, corporate lawyer doesn't really stand out with with the social media stuff, but you built an incredible audience. Tell me about that.
I think I did something not many corporate lawyers would do, which is I put myself out there in these kind of quirky videos where I'm playing two characters. I think most lawyers judged me when I initially started on TikTok, and they said, this is so unprofessional, you're never going to be taken seriously. But I feel like for people to be able to take these financial and legal concepts that I talk about and understand them. You have to make them digestible and make them interesting to watch. And no one is going to listen to a lawyer speak legalese for 60 seconds, but they will watch a fun skit that essentially teaches them an actionable step to get better with their money or their finances.
Very cool. Leilani, what's been your experience?
My experience has started with authenticity, I believe. When I first started, I didn't even know you could make $1 doing what I did. I started when I was 13, I'm 23, so around 10 years. And
Well, you're still so young, but you're also old school. That's
yeah, it's weird. But I began watching my big sister get ready in the morning. I would wake up every single day at 4 in the morning before she got ready for school, and I would study her and go back to sleep.
4 in the morning?
Yes, 4 in the morning. She
All
would go
right.
to school around 6. She would get up and do her makeup. And when she left, I would practice with it. I've always done makeup, but I focused on it around 4 years ago. And I give my name similar to what you said, like a big sister. I give makeup tips, makeup videos, and it all started with authenticity, which is why I feel like I connect so deeply with my audience.
Wow, that's so cool. How do you all balance sharing so much, being your own selves online, but then also keeping like a barrier for your real life, private life? Like how do you kind of, or maybe Brie doesn't have any barrier,
Like, what's that like?
but like how do you kind of balance like the private you versus what the public sees?
I think it depends on how comfortable you are sharing parts of your life and also what you want out there, because once you put stuff out there, it's out there and everyone will know, and you can't really erase that. And I kind of learned the hard way with my kids. I used to post them all the time and I used to be proud, obviously. And then I saw this video of my daughter on TikTok just sitting on the couch, and it had millions upon millions of views, thousands, so many saves, comments. Like, it was really bad, and it was all these creepy men being like, I can't wait for her to grow up, but her eyes are so pretty. And I was like, oh, I'm actually not protecting.
They took a video of yours and made a video of the video kind of thing, or?
No, I posted it on my story when I had a really small following, and I didn't really think much of it because it was years back. I don't even know how they found it, because she was 2 in that video. She's a lot older now, so I don't really understand where they got it from, but that just made me realize, oh, I can't post those parts of my life because then I'm not protecting my kids properly, and I think that's where I draw the line, my personal life with my family, my siblings, my parents, my kids. That's something I don't really share, and I think that's also why I love cooking so much, because in a way, you get to connect with your audience, you get to help them, you get to relate to them in ways, but you also get that sense of privacy of not knowing who I dated, not knowing who I texted yesterday, not knowing who my friends are, and then I also get to live a more quote-unquote normal life where I can still hang out with my friends and no one knows who they are, no one can ask them questions. I think that there is a balance for me of really being intentional with what I share and having learned that the harder way, but that's kind of how I do it.
That's fascinating. That's scary, but interesting.
No, it is.
Now it's just like you and the food. It's good.
Yeah.
Jake, do you feel like you play like a character online and then you're a different person outside of it, or how do you kind of create that separation?
Definitely. I'm quite fortunate in the sense that I don't actually share a lot of my personal details online. You know, I create funny, quirky videos for kids, and that's it. But that does definitely come, I'll say, with downfalls. You have to kind of set boundaries on the outside world. Like, you know, I've had kids show up at my house and stuff like that, and so you do really have to be careful. But yeah, that's kind of how I handle things.
That's good. The kids show up at the house.
Not good.
Not good. Brie, how do you manage it? Like, especially if you're an open diary, like how do you deal with your friends, family? Are there some things that you just say like, I'm not going to share because I'm going to keep that?
Yeah, of course. There's definitely boundaries that you have to create. And also, I've been doing it for so long where a lot of my friends are open to, like, they're in the space. So if you have to be able to have the people in your life that are willing to be on camera, that are willing to be in your stories, but also if they're not, code names are my favorite thing in the world. Like, there's a lot of stories I tell where the names aren't who they really are, or I won't give out too many details, and I don't want anyone that's not asking for it to be a part of it.
What's your favorite code name for somebody?
My favorite code name, it's just like a different name. So I would say like Bob, because I don't know any Bobs. No one's named Bob anymore.
That works.
Yeah.
Any Bobs in the room? Erica, did you find like you focus luckily on, I mean, not luckily, but it's on finance and law and stuff, so you're not opening yourself up to, like, how much do you share and kind of how do you, like, where's the character start and like where's Erica really begin kind of thing?
My rule is my personal life, I keep personal. No one knows where I live. No one knows who my husband is. I keep that very private. But
Well, you said you move every 2 weeks, so it's...
yeah. But I think the things that I have shared from my personal life are things that I know other people are struggling with and also feel lonely in that struggle. So last year I shared about going through IVF, and that was a really bonding moment with my audience, because you realize when you share about it, like when I first found out that we wouldn't be able to have kids naturally, I felt so alone. I had never met anyone who had had that same issue. But actually when I started opening up about it, I realized all these people, like thousands and thousands of people, messaged me being like, I'm so glad you said that because I'm dealing with the same and I felt alone. So that's where I do share my personal life, is where I feel like it can have an impact and make someone feel less lonely. But knowing about my husband or where I live is where I draw the line.
And Leilani, like you're doing beauty. It's obviously like a lot of focus on aesthetics. There must be a lot of like great comments and a lot of hate maybe too. Like how do you deal with kind of you're vulnerable. Like you're putting your face, like literally putting your face on there.
Yeah.
Like tell me about that.
I feel like I do a good job at dividing my platforms, which is really weird. Typically on Instagram and TikTok, I show the final perfect product. And we were talking about earlier, with Snapchat, I've been doing it for 12 years plus, just organically posting Snapchats. Within the recent years, I found myself full-time vlogging from morning to end every single day, no days off, because I enjoy doing it. Vlogging on Snapchat probably for around 2 years straight. I don't remember the last day. I've never done it
because... Would you like to, how many, like all day?
All day, morning to night, every single day. On hard days, happy days.
Is that exhausting?
I love it. I was just gonna say, like, I have a different experience. I find comfort in Snapchatting because it's kind of like I'm sending a video to my friend. I don't really realize how many people are watching it. But at every moment, whether I'm sad, happy, I pull my phone out and I just upload. Like, no edits, nothing, straight to Snapchat. So I feel like no other platform of mine, I don't connect with my audience in that way. So it's like a separate little area that I go to for comfort, as if I'm talking to a friend or a relative.
Wow. I want to talk about, again, like we got to talk about AI, because we came up with authenticity and credibility, and just jump in there and don't feel like you have to go down the line. You can argue, agree, disagree. As you know, when it comes to people, all love you guys because of your personalities, because your openness, you know, your authenticity. If people are starting to create not fake videos, but like AI-generated videos, fake avatar people, all that sort of stuff. Like, what is going to be like your superpower if you get flooded with inauthentic, not real, kind of very, kind of like superficial stuff versus what you guys do? What's the future look like?
I feel like the one thing that AI, just like everyone else said before, is the authenticity that comes with a creator can never be replicated by something that is artificial. And for example, what I do when I come to my audience and talk to them one-on-one, I don't ever see how that's possible to do with something that's artificial.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. What do you guys think? Jake, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm thinking. I think, like, with a lot that's been said about AI, like, I agree with so many points. I think AI can be so beneficial to help us, but AI doesn't have those personal traits that we all have. And I think that's something that you know is so precious to every single one of us. And yeah, like every time I scroll against an AI video, I can normally tell, and I think most people in this room will be able to tell if a video is AI or not. And half the time I do scroll past it because it doesn't have that human touch. So that's kind of my stance on AI at the moment. However, I think it can change very rapidly.
Yeah. Okay. And like Nara, what you do is, it's food, it's in your it's fashion, it's a whole mix.
Yeah.
Like that sounds like it's going to be an advantage if suddenly everything feels like it's fake or it's all been done by computers. Like, what are you thinking for the future?
I mean, I'm a little old school. I love all the old school stuff. I still send my friends postcards when I go on vacation. I still write people letters. I still do all the older type of stuff that's not that common today anymore, just because I feel like it's so personal and it's so important, I feel like, also to preserve the humanness a little bit. I think everything can move so rapidly and everything is so digital nowadays that sometimes it just feels so sterile, and I think people are catching on to that. And I feel like there was also, with my content, there was a huge wave at the time when I started of the whole movement of people making things from scratch again, having more I don't know, bringing things back that women and people used to do back in the day, like cooking and caring for your family and things like that, that AI could never replicate. You just can't. And I think the more time goes on, the more we try to connect with our roots in that way because of how digital everything's getting, and people don't really have that personal connection to that anymore.
How do the idea of trust and also just the idea of your personalities, how does that help you guys make money? Like when you work with companies, what do they say to you all?
I feel like they approach creators that they know have had a long-term relationship with their audience. For example, a lot of people that I've heard today have been doing this for 10 years plus, which is insane. Yeah. And I feel like no matter how your likes are doing, how your views are doing, if they see that special connection that some creators have with their audience, they gravitate towards them because they know they're not going to lie to their audience. Like my audience would straight up tell me, why would you tell me to buy a product that we know that you don't enjoy? Like they know me on a different level to where it's way more personal, and I feel like that's the moneymaker in some aspects.
Yeah, do you all worry about, like, when you take brand deals, do you think about your audience first, about fit yourself? Like, how does that come into play when, if you're offered something, and how do you think about, okay, if I'm going to partner with this product, this service, what that means for what I'm vouching for? How does that all work?
For sure. I've had brands approach me where I have talked to, you kind of have to go down, at least for me, because I talk about everything and it's hours a day, but you have to go down the line of what you've talked about before, products you've already dismissed, because I do reviews of things that I don't like. So sometimes it's like 2 years ago, did I like that product? So you really have to think back and make sure that you're being honest, because if you take something, when people go back 3 months ago, you said you didn't like this, then one, you're going to get canceled, people aren't going to believe you, and then, other brands aren't going to want to work with you.
Unless it's a good marketing opportunity, like, I won Brianna over. We new formula, and we won her over. She's a big fan.
If I came back on it?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was actually a brand that had happened. I worked with Too Faced, and a couple months prior before that, I had said I didn't like the concealer. They sent me a bunch of new product, and I tried it on camera, and they did win me back. But I had to prove that the product was new, that I liked the new formula, and that it actually fit for my skin.
Wow, very cool. Nara, how about you? I'm sure you get a ton of
I do.
fashion and food and cooking and everything else. How do you kind of decide, I'm going to go in with this, and how do you think about your credibility and your fans before you make a deal?
I think about myself as a consumer, and I feel like all of us creators, we're on the other end as well. Even though we create content, we also consume so much content. Yeah. And I always think about, what do I like? I like working with brands that I've used for years and years, and I don't really love trying new things. So if I do work with a brand that I don't have a long-standing relationship with, I do make sure that I love the product, and I never will put my name behind something that I don't stand for, because I would never want a 14-year-old girl to go out and buy a concealer that's really bad, or go buy a product that I recommended if I don't stand behind it. So it's being really selective, and I think that's also how you build longevity and trust and really have an audience that trusts your opinion. And then also, I love having creative control over things, so when I work with brands, if they want me to sit down and do a front-facing video of talking about this product for 30 seconds, I'm not going to do that. Yeah. So it's either you're going to do it the way that I want to do it, or I'll decline.
Wow, very cool. Erica, I'm sure you work with a lot of financial service, that sort of thing. How do you kind of vet and choose who you're working with? Especially because you're giving advice, you want to make sure your sponsors are probably following your advice, right?
Yeah, definitely. No, it's the same as what everyone else said. Is just making sure it's something that you personally use, you've vetted, you like. And something that I did, I think, quite uniquely was, for all of my platforms, I didn't take on sponsorships at the beginning. So for TikTok, I think I had 5 million followers before I took on my first sponsorship. And I remember turning down
Who won you over? What was the first sponsorship?
I don't know, actually.
Okay.
But I remember the one I turned down was $100,000. I was like, oh, but I have this rule that I was going viral on TikTok, and I didn't want to taint the audience, and I wanted them to know that I was there for them, to create content for them. And so when we started the podcast, we did the same thing. For the first year, we invested our money, I think $200,000 into producing and creating the podcast, and for the first year took on no sponsors. So I think it's very important to show your audience that you are there to help them authentically and not for the cash grab, and you earn their trust that way. That way, when you are able to take on sponsorships, they know, like, this is something that Erica is genuinely recommending to me.
Wow, that's great. Jake, finally, ending up with you here. I mean, obviously, you have a children's entertainment, and it's a very, you have a lot of responsibility.
Yeah.
How do you work with partners? Because, like, again, your viewership is young, impressionable. How does that kind of go through your head?
It all factors down to authenticity. Once again, I have to stay true to my brand, and I've got a responsibility, like you said. So any brand that reaches out to me, I make sure that I do like some serious research into the brand, into the product, and then we go from there.
Well, that sounds like good advice to all of us. Yeah. Well, I want to thank this giant panel. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.